Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome to.
Hello.
Hello. Hi,
Hi.
Ganesh.
Hey Sarah, how you doing?
I'm doing well, although I just had a really big stress due to traffic. So now I'm sort of still arriving and I will relax a little bit once I pass the mic to Nadia. How are you?
Good.
All right. So, as usual, we're going to give people a couple of minutes to arrive. And if you'd like to tell us, tell us like, who's someone you'd like to give kudos to this week. We don't need to know them. And just let's share some love for the people around us. Nadia, do you have anyone specific that's made you your week?
Yes and no. We had we actually yesterday I went after work, we had a leaving farewell party for someone who
right.
is going to be really terribly missed. There was a lot of kudos given to him, and so yeah, yes, I would like to give him kudos, but also how dare he leave?
Yeah, exactly. I know how that feels with dear colleagues. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of those things.
I want to give kudos to the Uber driver who made sure I made it on time to this webinar. Thank you. What was his name? Pedro, I think, for your service. Anyone else? Would you like to share someone you would like to give kudos to?
Yeah, I just said give kudos to some of my team members who I'm working with. They've just been really patient with all of the confusion that sometimes I bring to ideation sessions. So I do see them reacting their facial expressions when we are there in these meetings. So I know that I put them through a lot of pain. So yeah.
All right, that's great, Ganesh. And I'm sure it's not as bad as you think. But yeah. All right, so let's get going and start our webinar. Thank you everyone for joining today. It's great to see some new and some old faces. Whoops. So today we have a special edition of our case study webinar because we have some of our future members with us already. We have Jason here and Rodrigo. I think you don't have your last name, but I think it is the Rodrigo I've been sending emails to, and Domingo and Jose. So it's wonderful to have you here, and also some of our current members. So Nadia, Jenny, and Ganesh. And David, I don't know if you are the current member or the future member, but be welcome anyway. And so today it's a special edition for that reason. And also it's an opportunity to remind everyone who hasn't applied, if any of you haven't yet, I don't think so, to apply. And if you have already applied, the reminder is to be there on the 26th, ready to confirm your membership. And if you are a current member, be ready to welcome all these wonderful people into our community. So thank you everyone for joining today. And I'm going to pass the mic to Nadia in a second, but first let me tell you what's in store. We will start by having the case study webinar. So Nadia will share her story. We will do some ongoing Q&A. So if you have questions, please add them to Zoom. And I might interrupt you, Nadia, is that okay? If there's like a relevant question to that moment, all right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Cool. So I will interrupt Nadia if it makes sense to ask the question in that moment. If not, we can leave them to the end. And then at the very end, we'll have, I reserve 15 minutes, maybe more, maybe less, we'll see, to leave it open for you to ask questions. We'll share a little bit more about the community and the activities that we have, basically anything that you're curious about before joining. So that's the plan. Nadia, are you ready to share your screen and go ahead and tell our story?
I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Let's do it.
Cool. So, welcome everyone. I'm gonna share my screen. Here we go. So yeah, welcome to everyone who I have met and who I haven't met. I hope the next 45 minutes are going to be interesting and insightful for you. Today is all about the power of giving thanks. So, you already thought about who you might want to give some kudos to. And I want to walk you a little bit through how just saying thanks, how little things can actually really impact employee satisfaction by just leveraging appreciation and making them feel like they're, rewarded and thanked for their efforts. So first, a little bit about me. I found that was the hardest thing to do about the whole presentation because it's very hard to describe. So I suppose professionally, I'm a people and culture consultant with a background in economics and management, fell into HR and the people and culture space, but I really love that economics part of things. So I will show you some graphs and numbers too. I've got extensive intercultural experience to work, study, travels. So at the moment, I live in Australia, but I'm actually originally from Germany, lived in Ireland and many other countries. So yeah, professionally, that's me really. I work quite organized, I'm rational, ambitious, persistent, all of these things. But then personally, to sum me up at home, I'm a complete mess. Like I can't follow recipes, stuff's all over the place. I can never find anything. So it's really a bit of a bipolar side of the situation. So today I'll probably be somewhere in between those two things. The company and the context that I work for and the context that this case study kind of sits behind, AC3 is a managed services provider in Australia and New Zealand. And we're doing really a lot of different things for our customers. So I've got a tiny little screenshot. So we are a really big cloud provider in Oceania. So we do a lot of cloud migration, database management, but we also have a very big business unit looking after cybersecurity, application modernization, digital workflow. We do talent management also for our customers. So it's really very diverse and we do very many things, which means we're going to have a lot of different people in our organization. Now, most of our customers are actually government-based, such as we work with the Department of Justice, the Transport Department, Education, and so on. And we've been doing this as a company for more than 20 years. And we've been doing this really successfully, but, and here's this great picture, you know how people say when you own a dog and the owner eventually starts looking like their dog, or you have a partner and you start being the same person? I find we are doing that with our customers. We become very aligned with how our customers operate. So the phenomenon seems to be that while we are this diverse IT forward-thinking organization, working with customers means our processes are really slow and rigid, and we tend to not like change or taking risks. So it's a very paradox kind of thing. So our challenge, what I found was we regularly run pulse surveys within our organization to just check in with all of our employees, to work out, how are they feeling, what's going on, what are we doing well, and where could we do better. And we borrow these questions from a Best Places to Work survey, which is an external survey we run every year. Best Places to Work is an external company who provide this survey, and they actually rank all the companies who take part in the survey. So last 2 years, we got number 4th best place to work in Australia, which is really cool for our category. So we borrow these questions from there, and I've pulled out 4 questions that we regularly ask, which is, I feel valued within my team. My manager recognizes and appreciates my contribution. Going the extra mile doesn't go unnoticed, and we celebrate our achievements. Then everyone gets to rate these on this scale, essentially, from almost always true to almost always untrue. So I just wanted to pause for a couple of seconds and give you the chance to think about those questions for yourself in your current team, in your current environment, in your company. Would you say that you feel valued within your team? Do you think your manager recognizes and appreciates what you do? If you feel like, I have been going the extra mile, do you think people notice that and they're grateful for that? And also, do you celebrate your achievements in your team or in your company? If somebody does something really well, do you actually make a big deal about it, or is it just, kind of like that? So if anybody wants to share, please go. If not, reflect on that for yourself for a little bit. Okay, so at the time. So as I said, we sorry.
I was going to say that I was going to kickstart the discussion in case anyone was shy.
Go.
I am very lucky that it's often true, or I don't remember the scale now. So the very, almost always true. I don't have a manager, but everyone in the team is a manager of each other. So I think, I'm very lucky that it's almost true, but I've been in other contexts where it wasn't. And it's nice. And I can see in the chat that Murilo is sharing, and Domingo as well, that it's often true. So I'm glad that at least some of us here are at the top end of the scale.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd just like to add that, we work as colleagues in the firm, and we do value the time that everyone spends, doing what they do, and we appreciate each other whenever we get the opportunity. But do we as a team actually celebrate the achievements? I don't think so, and that's one area for improvement for us to take time out. Everyone's busy doing a project or working on something that they do appreciate it in smaller groups and forums, but then public recognition has its own charm. And I think it's important that when you get to town halls and things like that, you should call people out. I try and do that as often as I can, but I know that this is something that is needed. I'm just sharing. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think what you said resonates with some of our debriefs too. When we asked individually, we debriefed the team results and with the teams, and at a company level in a more of a presentation way, like in a town hall, we present our results, but then we really ask those questions. So why is it that you feel that way? How could we improve? And especially with we celebrate our achievements, we often tend to go, we've done 98% of this, really great, but those 2%, how are we going to get them next time? And then that makes you often forget to actually celebrate how much really cool stuff you've done, because you're focusing on the improvement, which of course we need to, we can't forget about it, but equally we need to celebrate all the good things that we've done and all our achievements that we've had. Anyone else would like to share? Cool. All right, well, I'll go back to what AC3 was thinking across the time. So I have a bit of a timeline here. And what we found in our data, and this is actually a screenshot I took from our reporting tool where we do put all our data in about those 4 questions. So I hope you can see that the colors line up. So what we found that actually during the height of COVID in 2021, our engagement for these questions was actually quite high. And we were thinking in debriefs, and what we kind of strategized was our people were really happy that we were lucky there was no layoffs. Everybody had secure jobs where they were able to work from home, they were productive. And because of this kind of shock to the system of everyone has to go all of a sudden work from home, we did a lot for engagement. Like we played games, we had check-ins possibly more regularly than we would have had before. Development programs were put in place, and we overall communicated what was happening. So that's why we think it went up that high. So at the start, fair enough, in March 2020, it was a bit of chaos because, to be fair, the whole world didn't know what was going on, but we tended to do really good then in the next year. But then there was other factors that obviously contributed to us going backwards in that trend, which were like, oh, what is happening? So again, with a couple of discussions, we think it's that we're now in the stage of it's a hybrid world, right? Some people work from home still, they don't want to come to the office. Other people do. the teams are diverse in the sense that everybody does whatever they think. Flexibility is a big thing. Flip sides to the coin. We're thinking about what could we do, and thankfully Klaus, and that's his actual name in my PowerPoint presentation, he's got clue for you. So it's just back to basics. Use our management 3.0 principles, engage the people and their interactions, improve the system, help to delight the clients, manage the system, not the people, and co-create work. And on the next couple of slides, I'll show you what our approach looked like. So firstly, we were looking at engaging people and their interactions. So here's some actual screenshots from our Slack channel where we try to really encourage people, leaders, but also people to just nominate each other for things that they've done well. So really celebrate those achievements, as I said, with these questions. So this is just a random sample of stuff that's happened. So we had work anniversaries, we had people who passed exams, people who passed probation, people who got customer compliments. There was also a couple of personal things. So somebody got citizenship in Australia. So there was a big post around that to say congrats. There was, people getting married, having babies, all these things, birthdays, and we started to really make it a much bigger deal than what we had before. Then we did a bit of a sneaky approach, how I call it, in terms of delighting all customers, because some of our leaders, we all know that they're a little bit skeptical and they're hard to get on board for new things. And they go, oh, I don't know, I don't want to just, publicly say, hey, happy birthday. It's awkward, it's weird. But we can't forget about those leaders either. So what we found is that emotions are a really powerful thing, as you know. So we wanted to start with those. And what we did was we would just nominate them for things. So on the right, I found this tool called Kudo Box, which lets you send a virtual Kudo card. And I sent it to Lucinda and I said, hey, I'm really proud of you. I've been gone for years. Someone was looking after your team. And before I left, I said to you, we really need to work on the psychological safety space for your team, where they trust you to come to you with problems and they do all that. And since I've come back, I felt like she's really done a fantastic job in that. And that's such an important thing. And so I nominated her for that. I just sent her this Kudo card. That's all it was. And as you can see, she was really happy. She was like, this is so cool. I can use this with my team. So I think we shouldn't forget that managers or leaders are also, people. We can't just tell them, hey, you should do this. But sometimes you really need to show them why, like for them to understand, okay, this made me feel really good. This really made my day. And now I'm going to go pass that on. So that's really important. And equally, I did a big shout out on Slack to all the people who are actually giving a lot of thanks. So those leaders who are already doing a really good job, reward them, show them thanks for saying thanks, essentially, right? It's this endless spiral, hopefully. Looking at improving the system. So we already had an approach to say thanks and to reward people. And our company was called Aced It. So we had these little printed cards in the office with a couple of things on our stock shelf. So we had a 6-pack of beer, box of chocolates, movie tickets, little vouchers, things like that. So every time a manager decided, hey, someone has done a really fantastic job, they would come to the P&C team, they would get a card, they'd handwrite something on, why this person has done such a good job, pick an award for them, and then bring it over to them. And people loved it. Now that we moved remotely, we have people at this point also in all parts of Australia and New Zealand. It's a lot more difficult to do. But it's important to know that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just need to sometimes pivot our approach a little bit. So we started putting those cards, as you can see on the right-hand side, into a virtual format. So you can just digitally send this card. On the back of it, again, you can write down what the award is for, why you're getting this. The cards actually relate to our company values. So we've got own it, brave it, better it, enjoy it, and ace it if you do all of these things. So managers can really pick and choose. We then made a little video as well with little dancing things that say, hey, well done. It's just something to, make you laugh. It's silly, it's stupid. And it comes with a little voucher. So it's a digital voucher and you can go buy something for yourself. But some people have said, oh, it's just not the same effect as getting something physical, like a bottle of wine, but at the same time, it is what it is, and how else would you do it? And this approach really seemed to work. And it's one of those things that proves you don't have to reinvent it all, just think a little bit differently and pivot it. And the final thing that we introduced is to really make everything digital and give people the chance to co-create stuff. So we've started using the Miro board for a lot of teams to really give them a psychologically safe space in the virtual space where they can celebrate each other in the team. So this is actually one of our sales teams who are using this, and they call it the appreciation wall, hence the background. So they put like this big brick wall there and people can just go in. And what's the beauty about this is also that it's asynchronous. So if someone in New Zealand wakes up in Australia at 5 a.m., they get an email from a customer, they can just instantly go in there and say, hey, I just got a really good feedback from a customer for this person, fantastic job, well done. And by the time that person wakes up, they might start their day by checking the Miro board and they go, hey, this is really cool, I got a customer compliment. And I really appreciate that way of giving thanks, especially I have to say in our IT industry where a lot of people are more introverts. There's not such big a hurdle up to someone in the office and say, hey, job well done. This is a bit more subtle. So yeah, what was the result of this effort? We've been really driving all these things for quite a while. And as you can see, our engagement went up by quite a lot, and we actually beat our top scores throughout COVID. So the proof is in the data. These things have helped. And as I said again, bear in mind, these are only relating to those 4 questions. The actual Pulse survey has a lot more questions, and there's other things in there, of course. But looking at people feeling valued, people feeling like their efforts aren't going unnoticed, we definitely impacted this. So a quick summary before I go into the learnings and how you might do that in your company as well. So really it's, we encourage new ways to celebrate each other's achievements, making sure that things don't go unnoticed. We made sure that we don't just leave it up to management. Previously, that was another thing we pivoted a little bit with those, with this reward system. Only managers could really nominate people. So now we open it up to just anyone can really do that. Get everybody involved to make it inclusive. Again, if I see someone in the company who's really demonstrated our values or who's done something really well, then why can I not go and nominate this person? Why would I have to go through management? And especially, we all know our manager doesn't know everything we do. They're not across everything. So when people do something amazing, we shouldn't wait for the manager to understand and to know about it. But then also don't forget about your managers, because they also do really good stuff sometimes. And sometimes you just have to, really push them towards something new. So recognize those leaders who lead the way and who are already doing a good job with it. Utilize free and asynchronous tools to really foster inclusion, make sure nobody's left out just because they're remote or because they can't come to the office. And move away from just recognizing and rewarding with tangible things, because as I said, there's cards that are not necessarily handwritten, but written by someone to really say, hey, I noticed you've been doing really well on this. It's a nice feeling. We all love to get that, right? If you think about the last time someone said unexpectedly, hey, that was really cool what you did, you really aced it, it just, it feels good. So in terms of the learnings and what we took away, providing different options is really key to being inclusive. So as I said, that especially that appreciation wall on the Miro board, only a couple of our sales teams use it, and it really works for them. Some of our engineering teams, they're really good at writing those actual personal kudo cards. So that's even less public, fair enough. It's really a more one-on-one approach. But they've also been better now at the Slack groups to say, hey, well done, this person has just passed an exam, or this person just got certified with something. So different things work for different people. Kudos and appreciation not coming from managers just hits differently. Like, as I said before, when your colleague says, hey, you've done an outstanding job on this, is very different to when your manager says it. Because your manager, you know, it's almost a job, and we sometimes think, okay, thanks for noticing. But if your colleague says it, or even someone in a different team who notices it and it expresses that to you, that really just hits differently. Obviously, giving kudos and saying thank you to other people is as rewarding as it is to receive that. So people are also getting better at doing it more regularly, because they realize, hey, that really builds relationships. Also, it really helps me to bond with new people, even that have only just joined the company, and later down the line, if I need, you know, a bit of a favor, they're more likely to help me out, and it just fosters a really nice environment. And then finally, again, rewarding the rewarders helps you get people on board. So we've definitely had some managers who were like, oh yeah, but now I'm sending gift cards all the time. Does that come out of my budget? Who pays for it? Blah, blah, blah. Show them how you can do it differently. Just send them a kudo card, kudo box. It doesn't really cost anything. Show them the Miro board, and really make them feel what it's like to be on the receiving end. And that really gets you to buy in, and that's what gets them on board, at least for our company. So I would love to know what you think, if one of those things might work for your company, or something else that you might already have in place, and how you do it. Because yeah, sharing those ideas is another key, and I might steal those ideas and then implement them at AC3, you never know. Cool. Finally, just yeah, some questions. This was my presentation. If you have any question about the presentation, this awesome community, life in general, try me. I may or may not be able to answer.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I love the sneaky way, or the sneaky approach that you shared. Yeah, there's nothing more powerful than making people feel something, and to understand the value of something. So yeah, I love that sneaky tip. But yeah, let's open the floor for any questions, comments. I can keep talking forever, but I don't think anyone wants that. So yeah, please unmute.
I can maybe go first.
Please.
Well, first, yes, I'm the Rodrigo you've been talking to in the last few days. Okay. Second, on the recognition topic, you know, and also thinking about how your engagements are and how you're scoring all these different questions. You know, I'm coming from a personal situation which is for me now difficult to answer some of those, because I've been 10 years working for a company, okay, and suddenly I started 1 week ago in a new role, in a new position, okay, and both companies are very different. In the former company, I was the CTO and CISO for a 150 people organization. And here, the company was 250 people, and now I'm moving to an organization which is 20,000. Okay, so in general, the size, the culture, and how everything moves is a different speed, right? But in my former company, I wanted to share this. We were using a recognition tool that we call Cheers for Peers, which is, we were based on a commercial recognition tool. I don't remember the name, but it was very, very good in the sense that you were assigning points. You know, it was there was a scale of maybe 100, 500, 1,000 points, depending on how big or how good what you done it was, right? And the person could nominate different people and assign different scoring to different people depending on the contribution. And it's true that I fully agree that was working really well, especially you were receiving very well the recognition when this was coming from peers, you know, more than managers, because of course we as executive team, we always were keeping eyes on the big projects, and we were celebrating and you know, commenting on, you know, all the teams and all the people who were completing those big projects, right? But I think people, and the comments I got, people were receiving better those those recognitions when those were coming from peers and or different teams who were involved, also in the project. And that's also how I feel in my experience. And then I would open a question, which is what I'm living now after my change from my previous company to this one is, in this company, it's only 1 week for me. Okay, so it's not that long. But in this company, I have seen that they are celebrating things which for me are really simple. It could be, I don't know, for instance, in my former company, we were celebrating big projects. Here, maybe they are celebrating simple releases, I'm on the IT side. So I was wondering myself, and it's a question which came as you were talking about, yes, celebrate, because I agree. This is something that for my teams, I like also to put in place. Is there a limit for celebration in terms of when is celebration becoming something so normal or so common that is losing value? You know what I mean? And how you can control this, if there is any way to control it. That was my thought process as you were speaking of celebration. So I was wondering if you experienced the same, because now I'm switching from a company to another, and it may happen that my scale or my way of celebrating is moving to a different level, But I was wondering if you suffer or saw something similar as well in your case.
I think there's different, yes, you're right, it is a thing. For me, for example, that moment when it's your birthday and everyone stands around you and you sing happy birthday and you feel really awkward and everything says, oh, happy birthday, congratulations, like really didn't do anything other than survive a year, right? And I think the recognition and that celebration needs to be genuine as well. Like if you pass a really difficult certificate, or if I do something really well and then I get recognized for that, that is much more meaningful to me than happy birthday kind of thing. And I think our leaders are quite good at working out what kind of recognition the person wants. So as I said, if you get this ACED award where you get this email with the card and a little something, a gift card or something, it's more a one-on-one thing. And your manager or the person recognizing it, they know what you've done, what you've done, and you're happy with it. Other people really want this public recognition. And I think this is the part where we try to coach our leaders into this mentorship of going, when you have a one-on-one, ask them how, if they have something really amazing that they've done, how would they like to be rewarded? Do they need a handshake from the CEO in front of everyone at town hall? Or is it really like a one-on-one thing where I say, hey, look, this hasn't gone unnoticed. I noticed what you've done, that hour of overtime. Thank you very much. That was fantastic. So yeah, there's a little bit of EQ, I think, involved, and a little bit of balancing that. And similarly, we hope that if you feel extremely awkward, if it's a full-on public thing, that you just say, hey, can you not do that again? Yeah, but you're right. There is such a thing as over celebration. And we kind of do back to birthdays once a month after town hall. We buy a cake for everyone whose birthday it was in that month. Everyone is named on the slide, and it's not quite as big a deal, because surely there's someone every day with a birthday if you go down to it. But there's big celebrations, like someone getting their citizenship after a couple of years, somebody really passing this exam with flying colors. Those are the big milestones and the meaningful things that we should celebrate, those moments that matter, really.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for sharing all the content today. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
I remember talking to some friends who were working for a startup, so completely different context from such a big company, or bigger, at least from what I understand Nadia is sharing. And they were talking about exactly that, Rodrigo. So what is worth celebrating? Because at a certain point, they felt like all the things they were saying thanks to each other on Slack, they were like mundane things. And what we've kind of brainstormed together was, if it's something that's part of your job, like thank you for writing lines of code, if you're a programmer, I mean, that's your job, right? But if it's outstanding code, if you found that bug that we've been looking for months, or if, then it becomes something worth celebrating. So Yeah, maybe that's a question that we could have in mind. Like, is this part of the job, or is it extra, or is it part of the job and this person is doing it in a difficult context and therefore it deserves to be celebrated? So yeah, maybe that's something to think
You
about.
know, in fact, now that you mentioned, that's more or less the situation I found. You know, it was suddenly a release, which for me looked simple, and everyone was celebrating like it was the, you know. And I thought, yeah, it's still too early for me to evaluate, right? Because it's not that long in the company. So I was thinking, okay, that must have been a very good release or a very complicated release, because
Yeah.
everyone is saying thanks and everyone is cheering and celebrating this as, you know, something extraordinary. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was exactly my question. Should I say thanks to the team just for doing a release when I don't know how complicated the release it is,
Mhm.
or should you just at the moment see things from the distance and understand what is the culture around celebration in the company, you know? So that's what I did at the moment.
Yeah, cool. Thank you,
I
Roger.
think there's an aspect here that like saying thanks does make the other person feel good, but by showing gratitude, it also does something for you as well to, you know, recognize the good in people, and it helps it change, I think, your own mindset. Like, having done a very little mindfulness and meditation, but there, you know, modules for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, gratitude is amazing. Does so much for you. Domingo, you have your hand up. Would you like to share with us?
Yes, I have a question, but you already almost answered my question. It's about the difference between positive feedback and a thank you. It's something that it's a task of my role, it's my responsibility, and I have a positive feedback. I did it. Thank you is something beyond the task of my role. An extra dedication, an extra illumination. And if this is true, it's possible to say thank you for a team that didn't deliver what they have to do, because they have a lot. It was something external or something they are learning. So I'd like to hear about this, the difference between positive feedback and thank you.
To me, I think sometimes you can say thank you also for something that didn't go so well. So, you know, if I have an issue and I need somebody to help me with it, and they try and they put a lot of effort in and they say, look, I just it can't be done, or we don't have the resources to make it happen. There isn't any positive feedback in the sense that, you know, this is what you've done really well, because I wouldn't know, because at the end of the day it failed, but I can still be very grateful and say thank you for the effort that they put into it. So I do see the similarities between those things, but I also see how they could be slightly different. Like the celebration things I probably wouldn't necessarily see as positive feedback, as much as, yeah, just maybe encouraging, because feedback is something, I suppose, also that you grow from and you learn from. And positive feedback, you're kind of doing it again, whereas gratefulness and thanks makes you feel good and it encourages you, but I'm not sure how much you grow from it as such. So, I don't know, that's my thoughts on it just now. Knee-jerk reaction.
Anyone else has, yeah, other ideas, other thoughts?
Your question.
Oh, question, yes. I had something I was curious about. So you mentioned these gifts that, like physical gifts that you were giving to people. Were they in like already bought and ready to go? It sounded like that. Okay.
Yeah. We used to have like a little stack of things when they ran. We knew what went relatively quickly and what we didn't turn over so much. So we always had a bit of stock in our offices. But again, even then it was already difficult because we've always had, even pre-COVID, a very small percentage of people who would work remotely, work from home or abroad or whatever. It was always a bit of a struggle to try and find something that, you know, you can deliver to them. And then it was often financially a lot more expensive, which was fine at the time when it was only a few people. But now that it's everyone, we're like, well, can't be doing that all the time. It's a bit much, but yeah. Having it ready to go, I think making it really easy to use and accessible, that's the key as well. Because as soon as it becomes difficult, people aren't going to do it.
Yeah, the case of the tool we were using, you could exchange the points you were given, and when you were having enough, you could exchange that for physical goods. So it was, they were having like a store, you know, where they were having different presents. So for instance, before leaving the company, with the points I was having, I got a Super Mario Lego set, you know, for my kid. I say it's for my kid, but I also play with it. So, but yeah, you could play different kind. You could get different kind of goods, and it was good because it's establishing. I mean, you're getting something tangible, you know, out of the points, which, well, in this case, it worked well. But because how the tool was working, okay, if everybody is expecting always a present, at some point in time, that is not going to work. That's how I see it, at least.
Yeah.
So Jason had to leave, but he left a question on the chat. So he's saying that he's curious if you have any tips for encouraging or creating a culture of recognition. At his company, they have a recognition portal with points, a bit like Rodrigo was sharing, but it's only used for managers, for team members. And he would like to see this exchange for peer-to-peer. So maybe Nadia, if you have ideas, and Rodrigo, since you had a similar system, if there's anything you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I honestly think the easiest way is just start doing it slowly. Just get people on board that way. So I'm not sure if the portal allows it. I'm not familiar with it. For us, it was because it was an in-house made thing. We just ticked the box on the back end and said, okay, now everyone can nominate everyone rather than just managers. But in terms of encouraging that culture, I think, as I said, it's really important to just target some people who might have already done it, or even when people say, hey, we got a customer compliment for this engineer, for this account manager, just ask them, well, have you told them? Have you gone to this person and said, hey, this customer just had really good feedback for you, here you go, or this customer or this colleague is really grateful for what you've done. So encouraging them to go back to that person and tell them or nominate them rather than coming to the manager, because I feel like that's always the thing. You go to that person's manager to make sure the manager knows that person has done a good job, which is not a bad thing, but that mindset needs to shift a little bit to actually go directly to the person and tell them. You can still tell the manager or forward the feedback email to the person with the manager in CC, but don't leave the person out, because you also don't know if the manager might forget about it and never pass it on. And it's just that direct feedback and that direct gratefulness to that person coming from anyone. That's the powerful thing, I think. Because imagine, rather than sitting in your one-on-one and your manager telling you, well, this person said you did a good job, this person said, and you list 5 people and you go, oh, that's nice, thanks. But if you have 5 people throughout the week come to you and say, hey, you've done a really good job, this was amazing, it's a very different situation.
Yeah, just to add to your point, Nadia, you know, I think I can relate to this because it becomes a process when appreciation is passed on to a manager, and a manager has to just call it out. He or she might not have heard it directly from the customer, and he is becoming a messenger of sorts to just say, oh, by the way, you got 5 appreciations, and that's about it. But when someone actually walks up to that employee or colleague and says, hey, I was talking to this client and the whole emotion and the whole authenticity bit, which plays into this, that has a very different impact on your, let's say, mental well-being and your happiness levels and things like that. And organizations, as they start growing in size, they start becoming more process driven, and they lose out on these human bits, which I think people should not forget. We need to just ensure that few things continue to stay as human as possible.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. With regards to the experience I had with this tool, which seems pretty similar to the one that Jason is talking about, we had exactly the same conversation in the executive team about how to implement it, you know, because what we didn't want to happen either, given there is a relationship between points and money, okay, is that suddenly everyone was, you know, nominating or celebrating and nominating everyone, you know, with the maximum amount of points, you know, and that was like a market, you know, or becoming a market. So you need to establish some kind of control. And what we decided to do, because you could configure it in different ways, is there were like 4 grades of nomination, right? Depending on the number of points. So we decided that the 2 highest ones require an approval from the manager. Okay, so you could nominate everyone with the, let's say, hey, great job, or well done, or something like that. But if what you are really nominating is with the highest scale or the second highest scale or scoring, you needed to justify somehow why you were giving so many points to a person or a team, you know. What we were really convinced is that this needed to be completely open to everyone in the company. So anyone could nominate anyone, okay? Because this nomination from managers to team members was creating exactly the situation that Ganesh was describing, which is, hey, someone is coming to the boss to tell that, hey, you should celebrate, you should tell these names in a mail or whatever, just because this guy's made it well. And that is completely removing what Ganesh described, which is, hey, and this feeling of a peer is nominating another peer, or a colleague from sales is nominating a colleague from tech, you know, or from product. And we wanted that to happen too. I mean, we wanted those kind of crossings to happen between all the different members and people from different sides of the company. So that was our experience. It wasn't that bad. I mean, from time to time, I was receiving maybe an approval from maybe a vice president who was nominating a number of people with 1,000 points, which maybe was the maximum, but he was giving me, or she was giving me the reason, and I was understanding, yes, approving, but still the nomination was coming from this guy to many different people, you know, not from me. I was just understanding that was the right thing to do and approving, and the nomination was coming directly from that guy. So it was really, you know, you are still keeping that feeling of getting the nomination from the right people who was involved in the project, and not the boss just because he was told to do so, you know, which sounds more artificial, if you want to say so.
Yeah, I think for us as well, and we are a much smaller organization, we have about 380 employees, and because the actual doing of the things, so the nomination comes through to my team, to people and culture, because we're the ones who actually then send out the gift when it comes to that, because everything else is like a free tool that you can just use, so there's no financials attached to it. And anytime there is, we have to actually go and buy those vouchers, or we have to go and buy those things. So we would, first of all, there's a bit of coaching involved to just not go, this person's done a good job, give them something. It's like, no, define what good job means. How have they done a good job? You know, that's where the value is. Like, the value is actually in that recognition of a job well done, and not necessarily in that financial thing you're going to get. So there is that. The financial thing is just something that comes with it as a little bonus. And then, of course, it's also when there was either you notice the same person gets nominated all the time. We have had that once where almost an entire team, excuse me, independently nominated us one person for something really outstanding. So we got back to all these people, said, okay, how about, rather than this person getting, 6 little vouchers, how about we do something really big for them in terms of reward? We ended up giving them a dinner voucher for him and his wife, because that's what he was talking about. He wanted to try this new restaurant, so we did that, and did like a collective thank you from all of the team. But at the same time, I reckon if it was just now people going, oh, this person hasn't gotten anything for a while, let's all nominate them. Again, it opens a conversation where we'd go to these people and say, okay, but why did you nominate this person? And why do you keep nominating the same person? Why, is it because they're your friend, or is it because they actually done something really well? So at our size of organization, that's still possible. I can definitely see how, these systems could be used and abused differently once it gets larger and possibly a bit more anonymous. So yeah, I think that's another thing to, I guess, keep in mind.
I was also thinking about Jason's question about creating this culture of recognition, and I saw how you implemented your kudos box, and I implemented that in a slightly different way. I didn't want someone to left a message or something like that. When we were doing our monthly town halls, all technology team together, I was giving like maybe the first or the last minutes of the call just for kudos. Okay, so you have to talk and really express how you felt about what that person did for you, or the team did for you. And I think that, for me, in my opinion, okay, I like that more, because you could really see people feeling really emotional, when they were giving kudos to others. Okay, and of course, in order to create that culture, you need to lead by example. So I was the first that usually in every meeting was giving kudos to some teams or some people that made something good, in the previous month. So that's also my sharing about kudos. I prefer face-to-face kudos.
All right, so any other comments or questions about Nadia's great sharing and story, or the topic of recognition and appreciation?
Thanks for sharing, dear. Really helpful.
You're welcome.
Agreed. Yes, thank you, Nadia, for that. And you don't know this, but Nadia is in the future for most of us, probably. Nadia, it's already Friday there, and for me, it's still Thursday. So I don't know, how was Friday, Nadia? All good?
Yeah, pretty early, but it's been good. It's good. You're in for a good, right?
Great. All right, so we still have a few minutes, and I would love to invite anyone to ask questions about the community, how it feels to be a part of the community, our activities. Please be ask anything, really. And we have a few of our current members here. And maybe I'll kickstart that part of the session by asking Nadia and put you on the spot again. What is like your favorite thing about the community? And I ask this knowing that you've been a host, you've been a participant, you've been so many things in this community. So yeah, what is your favorite thing?
That's probably my favorite thing, to do very different things with different people all the time in different settings. I really love all the input, I guess. As a person, I love to brainstorm. That's how my brain works. I have heaps of ideas myself, but it's even more valuable when others then throw in something that I go, oh, I never thought of that. So that input and really exchange ideas, thoughts, anything with other people all the time on different topics, that to me is absolutely my favorite thing. I love that. And also, I guess, feeling really comfortable from the start. As I said, I've said it before, when I first joined, I thought you've been doing this for years, and you all just, this is how it works. Yeah, cool. Just we'll do this again. Yeah, everyone is super amazing, friendly, helpful. And it's just, yeah, that makes it fun.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Nadia. I didn't pay Nadia to say that. And yeah, but it's really great to hear it. Yes, we're not even 1 year old. We'll be 1 year old in March. We'll have to figure out together what to do to celebrate. But yeah, so any comments from current members or questions or yeah.
I'll just say that I think
Yes.
that I agree that being able to share ideas and talk around ideas with people who are in a completely different place to you is incredibly useful, because otherwise you just end up in either in an echo chamber or just talking things through from the perspective of the culture at your own organization. So it is really helpful to be able to have that space to do that.
Yeah, thank you, Jenny. And you just joined as well. So Jenny was a part of a special cohort after the Forward Summit. Yeah, good to have you.
Thank you.
All right, maybe I'll say that it's a very special place for me as well. Obviously, I'm biased, but what Nadia said, I feel 100%, and I've felt it from the beginning. Everyone's very welcoming and very friendly and open to a conversation, like you've seen today. And it's good to see that some of our future members have the same vibe. So it's awesome. And it's a space to experiment. Like Nadia volunteered to do this today. She has hosted like just reunion sessions where we're like, so what's up? She has hosted practice sessions. Many of our other members have. And so it's really a space to experiment, to try things out, to get your hands dirty a little bit, but in a safe space, which sometimes bringing new practices, bringing new ideas to our teams, to our organizations can feel a bit threatening. And so here we can try them out before we do that. So yeah, I hope you join us next week and we can have some fun together. So yeah. Before I close, and if anyone wants to add, it feels like I'm shutting everyone up, but I'm not. You can still interrupt me. You can always interrupt me. I want to remind everyone what's coming up next. So next week, we have another case study webinar, this time with Stefan Mintert. I hope I said that name correctly. And it will be about live feedback in large meetings using moving motivators. Today, we talked a little bit about town halls. So imagine being in the town hall and you are presenting and you could know how people are feeling about what you're saying. And you can use that live to change, to adapt, to answer questions, to understand if they're motivated or not by what you're saying. So that is a story that Stefan is going to tell us about, and I find it super interesting. So yeah, I hope you join us. Then on the 26th, everyone's joining, and we'll have an awesome welcome party on the 31st. Between the 36th and the 31st, I hope everyone introduces themselves and that we can welcome each other to this new chapter. So thank you everyone for being here today, for your openness to learning, and I will see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
See you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Nadia.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nadia.
Bye.